Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Tonight, actually, technically, alhamdulillah, we'd like to greet everyone. This is the 1st of November, 2016. We're going to have a little different format tonight. We have a distinguished panel, and we're going to deal mostly with Q&A tonight. So I would like to start by asking Brother Tufail, the Imam here, for 25 years, minus a few months. So, the other thing is that when we deal with questions tonight, we have people who've been here. So if I start straying or said something, there's people here that know that know about everything we're going to talk about. Therefore, we'll be able to, there's hopefully a self-correcting process. So we'd like to start with Brother Tufail.
Alhamdulillah. As-salamu alaykum. As-salamu alaykum, Sheikh Musa. Since I've been here, I remember you talking about conditions, strategic management under conditions of repression. Okay, and I understand how that works because you explained it in detail. What I want to ask you this evening is, what would you call strategic innovation? How would you define strategic innovation?
Very good. Strategic innovation is, of course, you know, innovation, when you change, in our case, it's a game changer. When we change the whole game, we change the name of the game, we change the language of the game. When we have, you know, everything from digestible and all of that, that means that we changing the game. And when you call something, when you call a young black man a predator, the news media picks it up. So strategic innovation means that, number one, we've outgrown the oppressor. We've been dealing with the oppressor so long, over so many years and so many decades, that we have actually outgrown the oppressor. And in outgrowing the oppressor, we become a competitor to the system. Like, we compete with the United States government. We compete with the NSA. We compete with the FBI. We're not sitting back. We are not the oppressed anymore. We get challenged, we get hits, we get all of that. But we're not the oppressed. So, because we're reshaping the whole battlefield. They call it historical revisionism. When you go back and you rewrite history according to your understanding, your conception of it, instead of somebody else's, or the majority, or the mainstream. See, they have a collective memory. But in our case now, strategic innovation means, number one, we've outgrown the oppressor. Number two, we become a competitor with the system. And number three, we are a predator now. We are a predator on him. Yeah. Everybody knows that the whole dynamics has changed. So we don't sit up in the house where all the big boy may come around. So that's what it is. Strategic innovation is when you outgrow and you become a competitor first. Like, we're competing with the system on agenda and what have you. We're competing with it. It's going to do, the Americans, the Zionists, the Saudi Arabians, they got their agenda. They're going to try to mislead the people We're going to try to guide the people. So we're competing with them for souls. We're not relinquishing nothing. We're not giving them, well, you got them because you got to move people and you got this. No. We're not saying that. We're saying anybody you mislead, you're going to have to get over us to do it. Yeah, that's what it is. So we become a competitor of the system. The next question, number 2. Yes.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In previous talks, you've mentioned that we're not the victims in this. We're kind of on the attack mode.
Right.
So can you explain the concept of learned helplessness?
Yes.
And how it relates to that?
No doubt about it. First, there's 2 concepts: learned helplessness and learned optimism. Learned helplessness, we came across it. We got lectures on it as far back, almost 40 years ago, far back as 1980. Learned helplessness is this. Learned helplessness is black people, people of color, will suffer from that syndrome a lot. Learned helplessness comes from writing about, first they did study on dogs. They took a dog, they put it in a cage, and they electrified the cage. They electrified the top, the sides, the bottom, wherever the dog would touch. So they turn the juice up, and the dog jumps up, and he jumps on the sides of the walls. He tries to jump up with his paws to the top, wherever he touched. It's electrified. And he howls and screams, and they turn it down for a while, he lays down. Then they turn it up again, even higher. He screams and howls and tries to get out, and he defecates on himself, foams at the mouth, do everything to try to get out of that, but there's no escape. The top, the gates is closed, it's electrified at the top, electrified on the side, electrified at the bottom. They turn the juice down. They did this several times. On the last time, they turned the juice all the way up. And guess what? He just laid there. He had given up. He had been conditioned to be helpless. There's nothing I can do. I'm lost. I'm finished. Okay. Learned helplessness is what they tried to do in Oakland this time. They tried it many times. But when I went out to Oakland starting in 2013, everybody was the police. Everybody. And everybody was following the script. That means friends, relatives, people coming to the Masjid, everybody. People coming to the Masjid to a program would be, Mukhtar would bring his friends, and people who don't have nothing to do with nothing around him. They wouldn't actually be his friends, they would be just police that they didn't hire to come. Some be wearing a hat on the side with little old medallions. They're trying to play like they tough. They're trying to, maybe they thought they might be a little scare somebody a little bit. But anyway, everybody was on their team. So, the way they had it scheduled was wherever I would go or whoever I would talk to, they done spent 40 years lining up who I visit, who I know. They didn't got the list, and they've been dealing with it. I could tell by the people that come by and see me. I may have known this guy since we was in Fred C. Miller School for Boys. back in 1960, 61, and we're friends. He may have gotten a heroin addict, and I may remember when he would come by to visit me at the Masjid from time to time, when he's told to come by there. So, what their program was, is that wherever I turn, I'm boxed in. And they hope that that syndrome of learned helplessness would kick in. We don't have time to talk about it tonight, but they had been involved in this type of thing for a long time. So learned helplessness is when you're conditioned to feel that there's no way out and I'm helpless and I can't do anything. But the other point is learned optimism. You can teach people how to be optimistic. We always have the saying, between the optimist and the pessimist, between the twixt the skull, the optimist sees the donut, the pessimist sees the hole. So, what is this? This is when you learn and you train yourself to be optimistic. Now, optimism is kind of like resilience, and we'll talk about that on the next go-round. Optimism is how you see a thing. This is very important. Optimism has to do with self-esteem. Esteem means to weigh and to measure, how you weigh and how you measure yourself. So, optimism has to do with how you name things. If you face a challenge and you look at it, it's the United States government, it's the NSA, it's the FBI. People cannot beat those people. Generally, that's true. An individual cannot usually challenge those people. And the ones that do, we already have a history of them. They don't last no time. Okay? So, part of our method of operation for decades have been, of course, optimism. Humor, you know, and of course goodness or righteousness or whatever you want to call it. But that's part of our platform. So there's learned optimism that we use and learned helplessness that they teach. They teach it to all the people that have given up. When you see a wino out there hanging on the corner, he's given up. He's been conditioned. I don't want to be long-winded. Study young black men in their teenage period and study them about 30 years old or 40 years old. Young blacks and whites. The young black is always aggressive, tougher, smarter, and all, gentleman. And he's ready to go. But as he encountered life, life is designed to beat him down and to break him. The environment, up until recently, was designed to uplift the young white guy. Everything he come in contact is going to boost him up, going to lift him up. Everything the other one, us, we, you and I come in contact, is going to deflate us, take our energy, beat us over the head, shoot us down. No jobs today. Eventually, it breaks you down. Generally, it's a general rule. A few escape. This is learned helplessness, and what we use is learned optimism. The next question?
Yes, I see you're talking about learned optimism and self-esteem. Would that have anything to do with psychological resilience?
Resilience. That's, I just happen to have, just like a kingfish, I just happen to have a contract right here at the East Alaskan Canneries if you want to buy shares. But psychological resistance or resilience. Resilience in psychology is the positive capacity of people to cope with stress and adversity. This coping may result in the individual bouncing back to a previous state of normal functioning, or using the experience of exposure to adversity to produce a stealing effect. The function better than expected. Much like an inoculation gives one the capacity to cope well with future exposure to disease. Resilience is most commonly understood as a process and not a trait of an individual. Okay, I go with both of them. Some people are naturally resilient and this is part of it. So that's a trait for some people. But people can also be taught resilience. We teach it here all the time. How you do things, how you accept things, how you plan and organize, how you picture things. See? How you picture it is going to determine how you respond to it. Okay. Recently, there has been evidence that resilience can indicate a capacity to resist sharp decline in functioning. I'll pass over that a little bit. There is also controversy about the indicators of good psychological and social development when resilience is studied across different cultures and contexts. The American Psychological Association's Task Force on Resilience and Strength in Black Children and Adolescents, for example, notes that there may be a special skills that these young people and families have that help them cope, including the ability to resist racial prejudice. People who cope may also show hidden resilience when they don't conform with society's expectations for how someone is supposed to behave. Remember I gave this lecture some time ago, especially to us, because it's saying, since we're put in a hostile environment, and as we pass through this environment, we develop a special characteristic of resilience and resistance. We're able to resist oppression better. We're able to resist disappointment better. If you've never been disappointed before, or never lost a job, and you lose one, you may collapse. But if you've lost 10 jobs, oops, another job I lost. I'll get another one tomorrow. Resilience. Now, the reason I focused on this is this hidden resilience. Hidden resilience is something that people develop and they don't even know they have. Black people still got it. The older generations, our generations, have it hands down. Our parents always told us you got to be twice as good, right, to get the same job and to hold it. And you knew that, and you do. On any job we've had, we had to be better than anybody else. In fact, they may keep us around to train our future boss. Isn't that right? That's right. Little Euro come in. We don't have nothing against little Euros, but because they ain't like us now. The present and the upcoming generation of white folks, without them knowing it, is developing resilience. Because they've been knocked down for the last 20 years, they've been getting knocked down pretty bad. The only thing is, we have to come around and help teach them how to do it correctly. If they don't, they'll do like white folks did in Hitler's Germany after World War I, or they'll do like Donald Trump, gonna lead them down the road. You got to resist, and everybody's against you. Well, everybody's not against you. You have to teach the European Americans, hey, we're in this all together. Welcome aboard, right? Welcome aboard. You know who that is? That's a Mexican. You know who that is? That's your brother. You know who I am? I am a former Negro, and I even still look like one, but I am your brother. I'm your comrade in arms. That's who I am. I'm your friend. Me and you in this together. Why? Go to the library. They got new books on you, brother. White trash. White trash. Something that's not needed. You threw it away. They didn't say that. They said it down south in the 30s and 40s and 50s. They stopped using it because of the racial problem. Why are you using it again? Now, there's a few more things about resilience. Commonly used terms which are closely related to psychology are psychological resilience, emotional resilience, hardiness, resourcefulness, mental toughness. All this relate to the ability to bounce back. Remember, we always use the term, the 95% of ability is stickability, tenacity, the ability to hold down, hold on. Then we call it bounceability, the ability to bounce back. It don't make no difference how many times you throw that ball down, as long as it keeps bouncing back. The only thing is, even with rubber, you keep throwing it down, it loses its elasticity. So that's why we constantly upgrade ourselves on these, the total array of psychological, emotional, environmental circumstances. Because as we want to correct and help develop in the society, we have to study our society. We're not going to just jump up and hooray, and lead everybody down the road. They're going to follow you, jumping up and down. So resilience is a dynamic process that individuals exhibit positive behavioral adaptation when they encounter significant adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats. That's what it is. So that's a definition of resilience. And the next question.
Assalamu alaikum. I remember in '95 we took our name in terms of what our Islamic movement was going to be called. And of course it's As-Sabiqun. And what I'd like to ask you is what is this As-Sabiqun liberation movement? What is that about? What does that involve, inshallah?
A very beautiful question. As we know, we've been, like I say, many of us have been here over 20 years already. So we've evolved. In 1995, that is somewhere around July, we took Bayah and we had a whole set of goals and aspirations. And believe it or not, with the amount of adversity that we face, maximum adversity. I go so far as to say there's nobody in the United States, and not to say that I'm studying it, but I haven't found anybody that faced all the challenges and obstacles that we faced in the last 20 years. Unbelievable. But even with those challenges and obstacles, we have evolved. And we started off as a basic movement, you know, with certain goals. Masjid, school, business, geographical integrity, living close together. Well, as far as Masjid, this is the biggest Masjid in D.C., technically. Maybe not in people, but it's the biggest Masjid. And for it to be functioning is a miracle with the amount of fitna that we encounter. School, when we get ready, we'll open it up again. We ran our school for about 10 years, and we was able to hustle about $4,000 a month, so that, let's just say $400,000 in 10 years. Of course, that means with no job and unemployed and what have you. So, living close together, geographical integrity, we have houses, houses, houses. Lots, 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 ready to build on. So we have accomplished, with all the fitna, when you look at it, hey, we exceeded what we said. We wanted to start 20-some years ago and raise $200,000. We didn't spend double that much on our school. They had to stop us when we opened the school. I was preparing gourmet meals. Do you remember those? Yes, every day for the kids. And the only ones just waiting in line was the teachers, because kids like peanut butter and jelly. Man, we had fish, sauteed, baked stuff. Oh, man. Tuna casserole. Oh, good God Almighty. We was on the road. They liked it, but they can deal with peanut butter. The teachers, they knew what they was. They was hoping the kids don't eat nothing. Okay, now, to the question. As we all know, between ISNA, ICNA, the Negro Imams, and the agenda in America has been taken over. Oh, our dear people, I'm saving them for a special treat, because, and they deserve it. But the agenda has been taken over in America, and it would be all right if the immigrant took over the movement and was dynamic, like Imam Hassan al-Banna, which they claim to follow, or Maulana Maududi, which the others claim to follow. That would have been great. We just had leadership with a lot of money. We'll go into later how it was taken over. But we find ourselves coming into 2017. We've encountered a lot of challenges and adversities. And we've used those challenges and adversities to identify where we should make our moves, where we should make our so-called, you could call them attacks if you want. So there's a national liberation mobilization. And as we go on, we intend to go into it in detail. We start in Oakland, GHQ #1. We come back here to DC, GHQ, General Headquarters #2. That'll be our first, however long that takes. The national liberation, or the National Liberation or Confrontation Movement. They don't call it National Liberation War. We call it National Liberation Confrontation. We intend, we have been doing already, to confront the system of Americanism, Zionism, and Saudi Arabianism here in America, and how it's affected the movement. So, the Islamic liberation movement means that we want to liberate our people from inferiority complexes. Like we've been talking about on everything, resilience, psychological resilience, all that relates to inferiority complexes. The movement right now, Islamic movement in North America, We call it under Zionist control. The khutbahs, the programs, everything seems like it's designed in Tel Aviv more than here. This national liberation movement, which we're spearheading, is to liberate the Islamic movement in North America from foreign domination. That's basically what it is. It's our pleasure, it's our job. To liberate the agenda, to liberate our attitude. Attitude, just like a consciousness. You know, attitude means in aviation how the plane is leaning and according with the horizon. You know, when you stand like this, that's an attitude. It's a position. So we have to rescue our people from the attitude and the position, right, of defeatism. We can't do it. Anybody lighter and brighter, no more than we do. And the Negro is practicing better Islam with Yusuf Ali, with all his mistakes, than the immigrant community, and they can read the Arabic straight out. So it's a great picture and it's a great cause. And thanks to God, we've been raised for this. So that's the concept, yes.
We have to follow the people of knowledge, the people of ilm.
That's what they tell us. That's what they was talking about at that conference in Atlantic City. It's a shame. The people of knowledge, which can be you and I. Those are handovers from slavery. Slavery and Jim Crow. That's a Muslim Jim Crow attitude. Yes. And are there any more questions? I think we have.
I have a question.
Yes.
You talked about the promised land is a journey, not a place. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, indeed. See, the symbology from Bani Israel, the promised land, from us as black people, crossing over, you know what I mean? And in fact, whether it was the Ohio River or other rivers, when you got over that river, you know what I mean? So we was always trying to cross over some barrier and get to the promised land. So we say the promised land is not a place, it's a mission, it's a vision. I'm just saying personally, I feel like I'm in the promised land. Because this is the mission. Safe, sound, happiness, everything is here. Not in getting to a certain place. Because see, in life, you will never get to perfection because we're human beings, right? So when the promised land is a place that existed hundreds and thousands of years ago when people would migrate from, look at the refugees now, it won't take them long. The refugees come from Syria, from Africa, and they're going to the promised land. Europe is not the promised land. It's not the promised land anymore. You know what I mean? It's hell. People are burning down their shacks and tents and kicking them out and assaulting the people. But their picture was of getting to a place, like many immigrants when they came here. When we get to America, we'll work hard, we're going to be free, and we'll be in the promised land. Okay. So, for us, the promised land is not a place. It's a mission. It's a vision. And we use the word missionary and visionary. Visionary is the one that sees the picture. And that's the way a goal is. If you can see the picture of what you want to do, what you want to come. It's like wanting to build a certain type of body. And you see, man, I'm going to have big chest, I'm got big arms, man, and I'm going to do the exercises that call for that. You know, we was talking the other day about when we all had those small waists. All of us involved in physical fitness, we can do that again. But for us, it's not worth it. Right? Tell the truth.
Right, it's not.
I'm not going to do 50,000 sit-ups a day and starve myself. You know, I was talking about a six-pack the other day. For me, I can see a six-pack when I'm at 175 pounds. I can see pretty good at 190, but if I want to see all 6 of them boys in place, I have to be so thin. My jaws be suck in, you know, so it's not worth it. You see what I mean? So that place is not worth the work. But the picture that we have of life, we want to influence the direction of change. We don't want to control people. We want to develop a political and social system that does what government should do, should help make people's life better and easier. So a government for us here in America is to have the government power not to make everybody else do everything, but on Friday it's easy for us to come to Juba. That there's a certain amount of halal markets and you don't come around with all these, oh, do us the same way you do the white folks market. Don't come around doing 10 checks on the meat. Do one like you do everybody else. In other words, don't make it hard. So we want to develop a government here that makes it easier to practice Islam and to make it better for people in general. That's what we want to do. Okay, so that's our talk for tonight, and we want to continue having these programs. They'll be shorter and what have you. So we thank you very much. As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.